Do you wonder why some people don't like wind turbines? Is it just because they doubt climate change or don't care about the environment and the future? Contrary to what some might assume, those opposing wind turbines are doing it because they do care about the environment and they do want to preserve it for future generations. So let's look at some compelling data from the BOEM Ocean Wind 1 Construction and Operations Plan for Commercial Lease. BOEM, B-O-E-M, is short for the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management and is the government agency within the U.S. Department of the Interior, the DOI, tasked with overseeing the development of the nation's offshore resources. You can access the full report here at www.boem-wind-1-operations-plan. Now let's take a look at this report done by BOEM. What's really interesting to me is that most of the sections are confidential to the public. So they did this full report and study, yet the public can't see this report. Important sections such as Marine Site Investigation Report, the Safety Management System. Oh, here's a good one. Air Quality Analysis, confidential. Site Conditions Assessment, confidential. Design Feasibility Study, confidential. It's very interesting that lots of parts of this report are confidential. The companies involved in wind turbine manufacturing and the entities benefiting from their production, transportation, and installation often capitalize on concerns about global warming by branding these massive industrial structures as green or clean. But clearly they really aren't, and they're just preying on your sensitivity to what's going on right now with global warming and taking care of the environment. The truth is actually more complex. These massive wind turbine structures are not environmentally friendly. They actually have a very positive carbon footprint and also come at a very steep cost. Utility bills are poised to surge with this unreliable green energy, and taxpayers will be shouldering a substantial portion of the expense through government incentives and subsidies. Moreover, the manufacturing, transportation, and maintenance of these colossal wind turbines entail a significant reliance on fossil fuels. Yes, that's right. You heard me right. Fossil fuels are needed to run these wind turbines. This reliance results in a substantial carbon footprint. In addition, a significant amount of fossil fuels may ultimately find their way into our oceans over the lifespan of these projects. Isn't that wonderful? Massive oil spills into our oceans from our green offshore wind turbines. This video will critically examine the quote-unquote green claims associated with wind turbines, drawing upon verifiable data and insights from the BOEM report. So first, let's just look at the manufacture and transport of these wind turbines. The tower and many of the components are made primarily of steel and concrete. The blades are usually made of lightweight materials such as fiberglass and carbon-reinforced composites. Traditional steel production methods, such as a blast furnace process, can be resource-intensive and energy-consuming. I mean, look at this picture here. Do you think this runs on little energy to produce these very, very high temperatures to produce steel? This process involves the reduction of iron core with coke. Coke is carbon in a blast furnace. This emits significant CO2 and other greenhouse gases. The manufacturing of concrete, like many industrial processes, has environmental impacts, including the sourcing of the raw materials, energy use, emissions, and waste management issues. Fiberglass manufacturing can generate waste and emissions also, including waste glass, excess resin, and air emissions from the curing process. The production of carbon fibers like glass fibers often involves high temperature processes and requires significant amount of energy. Again, a high amount of energy and waste products need to be dealt with in the manufacture of these wind turbines. Once these monsters are manufactured, they then need to be transported and installed into our oceans. Here's a picture of a loading tower on an installation vessel from Ørsted. Keep in mind, this was in 2015, and since then, the size of these wind turbines has increased about 50%. So, as massive as this looks in this picture, it's a lot bigger than this these days. This is from the BOEM report. This says that the maximum elevation is 906 feet, but we have heard that it's going to be closer to 1,000 feet. And that came from other presentations that they have. I don't believe they've updated their report accurately, but also total width, the rotor diameter is 788 feet. To give you a little perspective, the height of Ocean Casino is only 710 feet high. So if this is going to stand at 900 to 1,000 feet, it's going to be a good 200 to 250 feet higher than Ocean Casino. And keep in mind, we are going to have 98 of them. The other thing is the diameter of the scour. This is concrete to hold the wind turbines, and it's saying the diameter is 61 yards. 61 yards is 183 feet wide diameter of concrete. It's a lot of concrete times 98. This is what's going in our ocean floor. Another thing has been the evolution of wind turbines. One thing is, they don't work if the wind's not blowing. So they don't work 100% of the time. Notice how over time, these wind turbines have increased in height. Why? Because they weren't putting out the output that was expected, so they just kept on building them bigger and bigger and bigger. We are going to have 98 of these massive structures in our water with tons and tons of concrete holding them up. Look at this. This is a 1,750 megawatt nuclear power plant. Tiny little plant compared to 98 of these to match the output. And this runs all the time. And the other thing is the infrastructure is already there for our plants. We don't have to build these out in the ocean and then bring this energy onto shore with substations that also have to be built. But this is the evolution of wind turbines. And again, this is because they haven't produced the output that they promised, so they just keep building them bigger to try to get that output. But the most compelling information about them not being green is, okay, we have to make them, transport them, install them. But this came from the BOEM report itself, and this is public information. They still keep this public. This is the amount. This shows how much maximum potential volumes of oil, fuels, and lubricants per WTG. WTG is wind turbine generator. So we're going to have 98 of them. So this talks about how much per WTG, and then offshore substations, and then onshore substations. This talks about all the oil, and something to note that's very important is the SF6, sulfur hexafluoride, SF6. This stuff is so toxic. It's the most toxic greenhouse gas that we know of. Looking at a table where we take this information per wind turbine and multiply it per 98 turbines, it's using 317,000 gallons of lubricants and oils for this project. But in addition to that, it's using 51,870 pounds of SF6. SF6 lasts in the environment 3,200 years. It's so not green, it is ridiculous to think that they are promoting this as a clean, green alternative for what we're using right now. We're still relying on fossil fuels. Oh, and I forgot to mention that every 36 months, just like in your car when you have to change your oil, these turbines, you have to replace the lubricants and oils in them. Well, I don't know about you, but I find it hard to believe that when these oils are getting replaced, they're going to be safely contained and transported and disposed of. No, they're going to get dumped in our oceans. This is not green by any stretch of the imagination. This is a disaster because not only is it not green, it's destroying our environment in the process of building these things and putting them in our oceans and killing our marine life, which I haven't even gotten into, which I will get into in another video, which talks about the statistics, again, published by BOEM, about the adverse effects on the environment and the marine life. Do you support the wind turbines and what they're going to do? These wind turbines will destroy our marine ecosystem. We are not being forward-thinking in our actions today by rooting the entire balance of our oceans and building these massive structures out there. That's like taking a state preserve park and putting a chemical plant in the middle of it. That is what we are doing. So you decide, are you for the wind turbines or against them? I didn't even get into what they do with these turbines once they're decommissioned. They have a lifespan of about 20 years. They're not recyclable materials, so they're either going to dump them in the oceans or put them in massive graves where they're just going to bury them. Again, for future generations to deal with. So make the right choice, and either you're for wind turbines or against. But me, being green and being forward thinking, I am against the wind turbines.